Hi everyone, in this video we're going to construct the social media ad, okay, in the horizontal. I call it a production video because there are a lot of techniques in here we've covered before in kind of like separate places. This is a good video where we kind of combine them all and are able to kind of reconnect and deconstruct some of that stuff we learned a long time ago. There's some really good stuff in here. So yeah, let's jump in and make this ad. Okay, so let's close down the vertical sequence at the moment, just have horizontal. We're gonna kind of start horizontal and then kind of do the work and then flip it up. So let's bring in a couple of videos. So double click in this no man's land. Let's go to your exercise files. There's one called social. Okay, and bring in fitness 1, 2, and 3, and bring in logo average Dan's. All right, don't you just love Premiere Pro? Like defaulting to frame rate? Weird. Click on the word name and it will be an alphanumeric, kind of how I like it. It does default to all sorts of weird things along the top here. All right, so what we want to do is bring in fitness 01 and onto our horizontal. Okay, it should be the same, same settings. It shouldn't come up with a warning saying, hey, you need to change them. If it does, just keep the sequence as is. I'm gonna hit my backslash key so I can see the whole thing. Actually, I'm going to zoom out one more, okay, because what I need to do now is actually make this longer. It's got to be a 15 second, it needs to be 15 seconds, so I got nothing selected down here. I'm going to click in here and type 1500 to go to 15 seconds and 0 frames. Okay, I'm going to hit M for my marker. Okay, if you have this selected, it ends up adding a marker potentially to the clip. Okay, so I want it to the actual sequence, and that's going to be my can't go past this because that's as long as it needs to be. So I need to make this longer. So again, we're kind of going through a bunch of those tools that we've done before in a more practical use, and it was ages ago that you did some of this stuff, so it's a good recap. So I want to stretch this out. The easiest way is the rate stretch tool, is the R tool on your keyboard. Okay, or it's bundled in with this, ripple edit, rolling edit, rate stretch. And it's just going to change the timing. Okay, and it should snap to this. If not, hold shift while you're dragging it and it will snap. Okay, it gets a bit jumpy. It's slow-mo already, okay, which is cool, but we've made it more slow-mo and it's a bit jittery. Who remembers how I go and change that to be a bit smoother? Imagine if it was a bit more optical flowy. Do you remember? You don't, do you? Right click it and go to speed duration, where you could just type it in there rather than doing this whole marker business. Okay, and in here, frame sampling, change it to optical flow. Depending on your clip, you might have to play around with these ones, but I've done this already. It looks good, optical flow. Even with that up being rendered, can you see it's red? Still looks pretty nice. And I've already rendered it. You can, remember, enter on your keyboard and it will render it out, but I don't have time. I'm a busy man and it already looks pretty good. All right, we're gonna add those graphics like you saw at the beginning there. I'm gonna go to my essential graphics panel. We're going to go to Adobe Stock, go to free, and there's more and more good stuff going in here. I'm gonna type at the top here, social, hit enter. And there's lots of all that sort of stuff, you know, all that stuff. I want to find on the second page here, yours might not be, and you could do a different one, it's totally fine. But if you're playing around with this tutorial, find this one called Modern Quotes. You can search for it up here under free, okay, and hit the little downloady button or just click and drag it onto your sequence. If it's downloading, it'll take a little bit of time to actually get there. Let's have a little look. Zoop. Okay, you might not have the right fonts with it at the moment. Ooh, but look at that, nice little animation, clean. You might have terrible fonts at the moment, but what I want to do is I need to make it 15 seconds. And I'm going to drag it out, and we're going to be amazed. Look, it got longer, and the animation's at the end. It's a pop quiz. Who remembers what technique made that happen? Whoever made this for Adobe Stock free, use that technique that we learned earlier on to make this adjustability thing really good. Do you remember what it was? You don't? It was called responsive time. You remember. Okay, remember we clicked on these and you see these little things on the edge here? Remember these were kind of like dragged out and dragged in? So they've already put the keyframes in there and done some nice easing. Okay, but they've dragged these out, so that means that we can adjust it. If they don't, and you find one in Essential Graphics that doesn't, adjust, you can just drag them out yourself. It's not hard, but it's nice when somebody's considered all of that, and we know that we can do it. In terms of fonts, if you don't have this one, I think it's Open Sans. It's a really common font these days. We haven't covered it much in this course because we did it in Essentials, but if you go to text and go to add Adobe fonts. Okay, if you've got a paid license, okay, or maybe click the little icon at the end here, it'll load up this site, and not free, you're paying for them, part of your subscription. Okay, but there's a bunch of fonts in here you can go and do. So in here you can type in Open Sans, and it's one of the ones here. Okay, and you just hit activate or go into it. This one here has a couple all active fonts. I'll turn it off. There is Open Sans and Open Sans Condensed. And if you got to make sure that your Creative Cloud app is open on your computer, otherwise the fonts won't load, but they'll magically just load on your computer. There they are. Look, activating. Okay, I often close down the Creative Cloud app. I'm scared it's chewing up horsepower out of my computer, so I have to open it up when I'm doing fonts. But anyway, there's piles of great fonts here. Little side note there. So back to Premiere Pro. Because I turned them off, they've gone to some other font. I want my Open Sans extra bold. That was nice. Saving project, active. They're all active now. There it is. It's come back. Nice. All right, in this, we're going to change a bit of the text. We're going to change that I don't sweat. I sparkle. How good is that? I sweat. I sweat like a maniac. There's nothing sparkly about me. I sweat and I stink, but she looks like she might sparkle. All right, and in here, they've got another set of text down the bottom here. I'm just going to turn that off. I might leave it on there in case I need it for something else. And I want to deconstruct this as well, because we've done these things ourselves before, but it's nice to see somebody else doing it. Is that with it selected, you can see over here my essential graphics, got to be on edit. You can see that there's this animation that goes on, okay? And the animation is happening only in one part of it. If I have my effects controls open and I have this selected, you will see in here, there's a bunch of stuff going on. You can see these like little dots here. That means that on the shape background, if I twirl that down under something, okay, here they are, the little keyframes. So somebody's animated that box up, but there's nothing on all the other text. Do you remember what technique we could use to animate one thing and then get these guys just to follow along? It's called pinning. Okay, so it meant that this guy here, background, okay, is doing the animation, but this thing here is, what is it? It's pinned to I don't sweat, I sparkle. Okay, so this one is following wherever this goes, and this thing is pinned to background one. So that goes wherever the background goes. This is kind of like this interconnected web. So if you are trying to deconstruct it later on and you want to stop bits, so let's say that I don't sweat, I sparkle, you don't want to animate, you want to do something differently, you want to do it with the background. So you've got to click on this and say pin to video frame is kind of like nothingness. And now the background I animate, but this won't. And maybe you can do something different, maybe fade that in or do something with it. I liked it how it was, so I'm going to hit undo. All right, and that was a good kind of, we threw a bunch of different stuff in here that we've covered before, but I think it's important, especially when we're learning, to kind of reiterate them, and it's going to help us set up for the coming videos where we start doing, I don't know, resizing and social media-y stuff. All right, I'll see you in the next video.